Got it. There he is. There he is. Pump up the views, baby, on the live stream. Got it. Okay.
Man, the myth, the legend.
Man, the myth, legend. Got two legends on his side. That's Matt and I believe Otto, right? That's what we have here.
Otto, yep.
Otto, named after the great Raiders center. I'm assuming, unless that's a family name.
Yeah. There he is.
Yeah. Rest in peace, John Madden. I said that last time, but I'm gonna say it again.
Yep.
And Raiders have a huge game this week. Huge game, biggest game of a lot of people's career. One of which is Derek Carr and pretty much everybody else on the Raiders, because the Raiders have not been in this situation for a while. And yeah, I guess I mean it all comes down to this, right?
I mean, I would say like there's maybe a few guys on there on the roster that have had like big games. Like I think Quentin Jefferson's probably played in a few big games, and like Yannick I think has. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's a career definer for Carr. I think like a lot of the thing with like people is like the haters like to, bring up like, he hasn't been in the playoffs and he hasn't won a playoff game, and like to put himself in a chance, like this is a playoff game.
Absolutely.
I think the last 3 weeks has been, I don't think Carr's particularly played well in any of the games. Against the Colts in the fourth quarter, I thought he was dialed in. But in the second and third quarter, we were in a position to lose that game because of him. And, some other errors there. But I think that he needs to win the game, really. I mean, pretty simple. If he wins, like, it's like, hey, you can't say like he hasn't made the playoffs anymore. It's kind of like, Andy Reid finally winning a Super Bowl. Like, it was like, okay, he's a good coach. He's never won a Super Bowl. And now it's kind of like with Derek Carr, it's kind of like, same thing. I think is like at the moment, you can't even say he's having a Dan Marino career, because at least Dan Marino made the playoffs.
Yeah.
He's not having an Eli Manning career because Eli Manning won Super Bowls. So right now he's just kind of in that, like, he's in that in-between zone. He's won less playoff games than Blake Bortles at the moment. So
this is true. This is true.
And it's not like Jacksonville's running out these great teams. So
no,
it's a very important game for him. And I don't think it's like going to define whether or not he's on the team next year. I think he's the quarterback next year. I'm going to leave that at that. So
I think so too. Yeah. And what you're oddly with this game, and I feel like every time I bring this up around people who are very Carr centered, that seems to be a lot of Raider fans, like where like their opinion of every Raider game is Derek Carr good or bad in their game. And a lot of people think I'm excusing Carr when I say this, but I'm not sure Carr is who I'm most worried about in this game, because I think we're going to get another 255-yard game, touchdown, and an interception. I think that's what we're going to get out of him. The fumbles, we don't know, and we cannot have those. I don't even want the interception, but I think that's what I'm penciling him in. 255, 1-1. But
there will be one play where everyone's screaming. He made the right read, but somebody made a great play, and it's like,
all that stuff.
It went off script a tiny bit,
because I feel like the people that hate him the most are the ones saying like he's got to go 350, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
He hasn't for
3 months. That's not him.
He's not going to do that. So that's the thing is, like, I think I've come to the grips with Carr's going to be the quarterback next year.
Yeah,
Carr's going to be the quarterback for the rest of this year. Yep. Now, can you win games with him? Yes. When the defense plays like it did last weekend, you're going to win most of your games. Will they? I don't think so.
And that's who I'm more concerned about. That's who I'm concerned about that this week, because I like the way Gus Bradley dialed up blitzes last week. I thought he put good heat on Carson Wentz. I thought you had DBs coming all over the field. You need that again against Herbert. Herbert against zone is top 5 of the league. Zone with not under pressure, clean pocket. Now, the Colts have a really good offensive line, and I'm hoping that Bradley sees that maybe my front four is not going to get there, because Justin Herbert, and I'm kind of a Justin Herbert truther. I think he gets crowned way too fucking early. I think he's being crowned as the next great guy when, to be fair, like, I don't know that. I think he's very good, but I don't know that he's that guy. Here's what I'm saying, that the way you beat the Raiders is something that Carson Wentz wouldn't do last week. Carson Wentz would not take what was in front of him. He would always try to push something down the field, push something to Pittman. He'd be under pressure, couldn't make the throw. Herbert is bottom 7 in average depth of target. And a lot of people say that as a bad thing. Against the Raiders, that's a good thing, because if they don't press up on those wide receivers, he will just pick you apart and paper cut you to death and not let Crosby get home.
Eckler and Keenan
Allen, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So as good as they've been playing, they've been playing bad quarterbacks.
The first half of that first game, it was like, they didn't have any deep plays. It was literally 10 yards to Allen, 12 yards to Eckler, 10 yards to Cook, 12 yards to Allen, touchdown Williams or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's tough because I think people they want the Raiders to be different than they are. And Gus Bradley's defense is what it is. It always will be. And it was all year. And the teams like the Colts are a bad example, but the Chiefs, they didn't go deep. Tyreek Hill didn't kill them.
No.
But they lost because they had Damian Williams catching 18-yard passes out of the backfield. So it is what it is. And I think that they're going to have to come up with a game plan. And I think last week they showed they can actually blitz a little bit. And I'd like to see that this weekend.
Absolutely.
They blitzed Wentz quite a bit. I mean, more than they have all year.
Yeah, and keep that roll. You need to realize that works. Press up on these wide receivers. I was watching a little bit of all 22 breakdowns. They were pressing up on the receivers a little bit more last week. You're going to need to do that. Keenan Allen's not. How often do you see Keenan Allen run past somebody? Doesn't happen a lot. He's not that fast. He's a technician underneath. He's a technician underneath. Yeah, Williams can get you the 50-50 ball. If that happens, that happens. If he wins a 50-50 ball over Casey Hayward.
They still have Guyton. Guyton can go deep, but
Guyton can go deep. Cook can pick you apart over the middle here and there. And then, but you got to stop Eckler. It's Eckler and Herbert are the two guys. That's why the reason I'd say that was a long-winded way for me to say, I think I know what I'm getting out of Derek Carr. I don't know what I'm getting out of this defense against this Justin Herbert thing led by Gus Bradley. And I'm not blaming the defense. They've been playing fantastic as far as what they have, the sum of all their parts. They've been playing fantastic the last couple of weeks. This is a new challenge. This is not Carson Wentz, Nick Mullins, or Drew Lock. This is Justin Herbert. He is a way ahead of those guys. And I don't believe that the Raiders can win a 30-point plus shootout with the Chargers. I don't see that, because I think if the Raiders are in that game and they're waiting for big plays to open up, you have Joey Bosa and Brandon Parker. So this is going to have to be an ugly game. This is going to have to be
Brandon Parker might be the worst player in football.
Yeah, David Carr was on NFL Network. David Carr was saying, oh yeah, last time when the Raiders played the Chargers, they had Leatherwood on Bosa. They have Parker on Bosa now, so I think they've addressed it. I was like, are you mental? Are you?
Well, David Carr likes to be that positive guy, and it's not always true. You can't always just say what sounds good. And I think Parker last week. I mean, even the last play where Carr hit Renfro, Parker got beat like a drum, and he's not a good football player. We've come to the point where we know he's not a good football player.
Yeah. And
we know he's not a good football player. You can tell Otto says he's not a good football player. Brandon Parker. He's not really a big Brandon Parker guy.
No, I don't. I think he's already got a good football mind, personally. The GM spot,
what do you think about him? He says no.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that was I would say that he's right, and I don't think he would have traded up in the third round to take him over Fred Warner, personally.
No, and the thing is, with the Raiders, is the right side of the offensive line. That's the key to the game, and I would say that, and your linebacker play. Is Diablo going to be able to kind of neutralize Eckler a little bit?
They're going to need to get speed.
Cover Jared Cook, and Jared Cook is a shell of himself. Last time we played the Chargers, he killed us. And so I think those two things are important. It's like you said, it's the cuts, the little tiny, paper cuts that they do. And
a patient quarterback that likes to check down. If he see it, Justin Herbert saw Gus Bradley all last year. He was practiced against him all year. So unless he makes have some pride, right? Do you want the top two teams? If the Raiders lose this game, they will be 0-4 against the Chargers and the Chiefs, right? It's combined. Like, have some pride against like your old team. Like, adjust, be smarter than the guy that you saw as a rookie.
It goes for the offense and the defense, though. Like the Raiders last week, they set themselves up being 3rd and 3 pretty much all day.
Oh yeah.
And then like we were talking and we're like, you know what, they're going to get this because it's 3rd and 3. And if they don't, they have a second chance, 4th and 1.
Yep.
And that's what the Raiders did. So I think like getting those splash plays from Yannick and getting those splash plays from Crosby where you get -3 on the first run play, you know, a sack for -6, like those are going to be the keys to the game. I don't know. I'm probably not going to sit down the entire game. So
right. And what do you think of this on offense? Now people are saying, "Oh, are you setting up the defense for failure in this game?" No. Here with the offense, what we need to do is we need to go. I'm assuming Waller's back. People are saying Waller's going to come back. I think he's going to be back. I think if he's even 70% of Darren Waller, I think that's a good thing. And you'll see. I want to play this game the way that the Raiders played against Chicago in London in 2019. And if anybody remembers the Denver game in 2016, where they just went jumbo 2 tight end formation, extra linemen out there.
Oh, that's my favorite, like in the last 20 years.
It was a great win. And I think they have to do that. They have to do that against this team because, one, Derwin James is going to be plastered on Waller if you spread them out. Derwin James is going to be on Waller, and that's just, he's going to erase him, honestly. Like, Derwin James is a fucking stud. It's just going to happen. But if you are able to play off the – what's that?
Run the ball.
Yeah, run the ball, play action off the run. See if you can get them to sell out on the run because the Chargers are light. They are a light defense. They're fast. They can hit, but they're light. So if you can just grind them down, because the Raiders this game has to be ugly to favor the Raiders, in my opinion. It cannot be a pristine. They're not going to win this like the Cowboys Thanksgiving game. I don't think.
No, and I couldn't believe last time we played them that we weren't chipping Joey Bosa and we didn't have help over there.
Jalen Richard game.
Richard wasn't playing, but like Leatherwood wasn't getting any help over there. And of course he got beat like a drum, but Parker's worse than Leather. I mean, I think Leatherwood is slightly even I don't think Leatherwood's very good. I think Parker's right tackle in football. And so you need help. So Richard, Daniel Helm, Carrier,
anybody. Jordan Simmons, get out there, play extra lineman.
Yeah. So I don't mind going jumbo. It's not like you have a bunch of receivers you need on the field. Deshaun Jackson's worthless. I mean, I think people really wanted him to be something he's not.
Let's talk about that. Deshaun Jackson, and I'm going to say something that might, because I liked Marshawn Lynch, but people talked about Marshawn Lynch like he was Derrick Henry when he was here, right? And he was not that. Deshaun Jackson is okay. Derek Carr underthrew him last time. This is a fact. He was open.
Yeah, but
he doesn't have the legs that he used to.
Drops it anyway because he's dropped 4 passes since he's been here.
Oh, and it's because Carr doesn't target him enough though, and he checks out. Which I laugh. I'm like, well, why do I want you on my team if that happens?
What fumble against Kansas City? That was the worst play I've ever seen.
I love the idea of checking out on a 9-8 team that's playing for a playoff spot, just checking out.
Yeah, dude. He dropped the ball. He turned. Remember, he spun the wrong way. I don't know.
I remember. Yeah. So I think he's one of those guys that everybody's always wanted on the team. Remember Djax to Oakland. So we finally got him. Therefore, he can do no wrong. And then that comes into your Carr narrative that maybe Deshaun Jackson's great, even though I'm sorry, with Matthew Stafford, he was not putting up numbers and the Rams. He was not I actually like when they work Deshaun Jackson underneath more than I like when they send him on go balls, because he's not going to 50-50 ball anything. He's not going to win.
He asked for.
Yeah. I think
I mean I think Zay Jones kind of stepped up a little bit. We got Renfro, you got Waller. Jackson doesn't really have a role other than maybe that one deep targeted game, and hopefully you don't throw an interception on it next time.
And also, what about okay, we don't have time to hold the ball against Joey Bosa. We don't have time to hit. I think Greg Olsen falls in love with that deep shot, and I don't think we have that kind of time against this Charger defense. I don't think we have the time to throw, whenever that happens, whenever Carr fumbles, it's always some weird deep shot play that shouldn't be called. I don't know.
On it's 1st and 10. It's it'll be it'll be like 1st and 10 from the 30, and they're taking a shot to the end zone,
or 3rd and 7. When you're like, dude, just yeah.
And I think one thing is you have to they get mad at Carr for checking down, and so do I. Like when it's frustrating when it's like 3rd and 6 and he's checked 2 yards and the game's on the line or whatever. But it's not the worst thing in the world to not throw an interception when you are winning or you have you're down by 1 score. So like the Leonard interception last week, the Deshaun Jackson interception last week, you're up 7-0. Like you don't need to throw that interception. And like also, if he threw the ball a couple yards downfield, that's probably a touchdown. However, it's Deshaun Jackson. He's 100 years old. If he catches that ball, there's no guarantee he scores. So people like to do that. They like to say, well, if he catches that, it's a touchdown. Like when the one Carson once missed Hilton.
Yeah.
You know, when he overthrew Hilton by like 10 yards.
I thought that was a touchdown.
Dude, I don't think he scores there. If you look at the replay, Levitt was right there.
Oh,
there's like a bunch of defenders.
Levitt.
But I'm just saying, like Hilton's 100 years old. There's no guarantee he scores there.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, man. It's going to come down to like, you need to run the ball with Jacobs. I think Jacobs needs to touch the ball 20 times.
Yeah. No slithering in the medical tent. It's that play where he laid down on the ground and just slithered into the medical tent. I was like,
yeah, it was
weird.
What
are you doing?
And then
like
Barber
Did Harry Potter put a spell on you or something?
Like Peyton Barber is what he is. You know what I mean? Like, but you need Jacobs. Jacobs is your guy.
Yeah.
And you might win the game with 25 to 30 carries. We're doing
What's our record? Our record is insane when he has like 25 carries.
Yeah.
Right?
And then, Richard actually looked like he had something to him there at the end of the game. And I'm like, get carries too, you know. You're not going to win this game throwing the ball 40 times.
No.
So, and then, it comes back to the, game planning and Olsen and getting that 3rd and 2 instead of that 3rd and 11, and maybe not having a Leatherwood false start every time you end up in the red zone.
Yeah. No, it's all that. And then I don't want to see Daniel Carlson a lot as much. we're going to have to score in the red zone. I love Daniel Carlson, but 3 points is not as good as 6. Daniel Carlson can't score touchdowns. Unfortunately, I wish he could, but they're going to need a turnover on defense.
I mean, we've had 4 games in a row where you had one, like in the bag.
And I think we've lost the turnover battle every game the last 3 wins, if I'm not mistaken.
We're -9 or -10 over the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, that's what scares me.
They won a game with 5 turnovers or 3 turnovers. They won a game with 2 turnovers, which is just doesn't happen at the NFL level. You know, and, it's just a tough one because it's like you just win. Like, I don't care what happens, but at the same time, you're not going to sustain that. Like if you go play, I mean, even this week, if they turn the ball over 3 times, they're not winning.
No.
The Colts are a good football team, but I don't think the Colts are a great football team. I don't think the Chargers are a great football team, but
it's a bad matchup though.
But you know who is? Buffalo, Kansas City, New England, all those teams you're going to go if you make the playoffs. So Carr is, for being so conservative, turns the ball over too much. So I hope that he can turn that around and you're not turning the ball over 2 or 3 times this week.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair to say. And I guess lastly with this game, before we move on to some rumors here, it's going to come down to can you, it's the matchups, right? And I like when the Raiders are matched up against, teams that want to just out physical them, and try to run the ball. I think they're good against those teams. I think they're good against the Jonathan Taylor led teams. I think they're good in that. I am scared about, like I said, Herbert just picking us apart, dominating time of possession. Once the Raiders have been a good defense the last few weeks. However, I would argue they haven't really been tested that much, and the red zone percentage is still really bad amongst this defense. And Herbert,
they give up a touchdown literally every time.
Herbert's great in the red zone, so that's what I'm a little bit scared of, with that. And I don't want to turn this into a shootout because I don't think the Raiders can win a shootout. Like I said, it has to be an ugly slugfest. 20,
23, 21, 25, 22, whatever, something like that. They're going to need to score more than 20. Like those 18, 16 games ain't going to cut it. But
Yeah. So, okay. Well, go Raiders there. So I've been hearing, I won't say, my sources. I know you have yours too. I've been hearing that the head coach of Michigan football, Jim Harbaugh, is a hot button name. Some people are saying it's very close. You see Michael Fabiano was alluding to it today, saying that his birds are chirping. Now that he didn't say it was about Harbaugh, so maybe that's about Dabo Sweeney too. But it does quite kind of seem like Mark Davis is infatuated with Jim Harbaugh the same way he was infatuated with John Gruden. I believe in 2015 he tried to get Jim Harbaugh before he went to Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. He really tried to get him over to the Raiders pre Jack Del Rio. He was always trying to get rid of Jack Del Rio. It was really funny. But then it was weird that every year, even though they were like, I'm not saying Jack Del Rio was a good coach, but they were improving under him, but he was still trying to get that coach. So it seems like he's fixated on that guy. Obviously, you can't get Gruden back. That's never going to happen, thank God. But then you're going to get with this Harbaugh thing. Do you think it's Jim Harbaugh is going to coach this team next year?
I think it's Jim Harbaugh unless Jim Harbaugh doesn't want to coach this team
right.
So if he ends up getting like a multi-year extension from Michigan and they give him so much money that he can't say no, I think he'll stay there. I think he can get a crazy deal from like a Chicago Bears type team. But if the job's there, if he wants it, is how I'm looking at it. And it's either going to be him, Rich Bisaccia, or Doug Peterson. That's my guess. Those are my three. And
you don't think Dabo Sweeney at all?
I'm not buying that. I think Dabo came to watch a game where he had 5 ex-Clemson players playing.
Right.
And that's been a rumor ever since. But I also, Todd Bowles, I think Mark Davis wants somebody that has coached in the NFL before.
Yeah, me too.
And those 4 guys meet that category.
Yeah.
I think if Bisaccia, if he wins Sunday and he wins a playoff game, I think it's hard to say, hey, you're fired, or hey, you're not coming back. So, it all depends. I think it's Harbaugh's job if he wants it, regardless of the outcome of the season. I think that he's probably going to say, hey, here's the rest of Gruden's contract. Like, you can have it. Here, $10 million a year. You can do whatever you want. Mayock can stay and be the, GM if you want. But I think it's going to be Harbaugh's show. I think he's going to be the one that's calling the shots.
Yeah. So I have an interesting take on Harbaugh. He is at the top of my list. I was talking about Pete Carroll, but Pete Carroll, he's in the NFL and you'd have to wait for him to get fired. I actually really like Pete Carroll, but I like Harbaugh just as much. And I maybe even more because Jim Harbaugh had, when he was with San Francisco, you and I being, Northern California guys, like, we're all friends with a bunch of Niner fans. So we always knew a lot about that organization, whether we wanted to or not. The pros of Harbaugh was that the minute that he came in, the Harbaugh took over a 6-10 team for Singletary that had talent over there. And they had Patrick Willis, they had Ahmad Brooks, they had Navarro Bowman, good players on that defense. And the Raiders have a little bit of talent too. I don't think it's that good, but they had a little bit of talent. But he came in and he changed the culture of that team. And I saw like a 10 times more physical Niner team when he took over them. Now, the downside of Harbaugh, and I don't know if it's his fault or not, but I think Harbaugh is going to want a little control, right? And I think Mark is willing to give coaches control. I don't think Mark has learned his lesson that you shouldn't let head coaches have their say in picks and stuff like that. And the Harbaugh administration, their draft picks with Trent Baalke, not great. So just a little pro and con there.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where I think Mark Davis is he doesn't want anything to do with like calling shots or anything. Like, you have owners that are like, you know what, I want to know who's coming. I kind of want to play GM a little bit. Mark Davis wants people in the building that are going to make the decisions.
Yep.
And that's how it's going to be. So I do think I agree with you. If Harbaugh comes, he's the GM. It's pretty simple. He's not going to come here.
So you think Mayock stays again without having any control?
I think if Harbaugh comes, I think Mayock's gone. That's just my guess.
Because to me, it's like my thing is, does every head coach want to be a GM?
I don't think so. But I think
Harbaugh, like to me, I could see Harbaugh wanting to be in the draft room. I could see Harbaugh wanting to be like, hey, I like this guy. But I also think Harbaugh respects hierarchy a little bit. Now, that being said, he is
a little, but he's coming from Michigan where he's got 100% control. I think this is a situation where he's going to come and 100% control. So that's just my opinion. And I think if he comes, I think Mayock's gone. If Mayock stays, it's going to probably be Bisaccia back.
Okay. So I mean, do you think they would even go as far as to hire a shell ghost GM?
No, I think it'd be like
Harbaugh Bill O'Brien,
his situation. Guy. Harbaugh would, like Gruden did. Gruden hired Mayock. It'll be the same thing. It'll be Harbaugh's going to hire his guy that comes in the building. He's making any crazy decisions, something like that.
Because that's the one thing I'd be soured on, but it almost seems like Mark Davis would do that with whoever he hired. Whoever he hired, he'd be like, "You're the GM."
Or Davis is looking for guys that are going to just make decisions, and the least amount of decisions he has to make.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. And so, do you think that because it's going to be between the Bears and the Raiders? I mean, we're assuming Matt Nagy's getting fired. I mean, that's all but written. And I saw you say something.
It won't be Jacksonville. I think there's going to be some other head coaching jobs that open up. If like Minnesota, but I don't think he'd want to go there. It's going to have to be Chicago or Vegas. And I think if it came down to it, he's choosing Vegas.
I mean, I'll put it this way. Vegas is a better situation than Chicago right now.
Well, I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, Chicago's cap space and shit is not as good. They don't have as much like young talent necessarily as the Raiders do. Mac, is the best. He's better than any defender we have, but he's probably not on the up. And then, you have your quarterback that's unknown.
And you have no first round pick.
No. So,
I mean, if you're the Raiders, let's say you're minimum taking over a 9-8 team that's looking to get over the hump.
Right. Yeah. So you're like, you got a team that has pieces in place and you got a team that doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Harbaugh's gonna. I mean, it's weird talking about this right now, right? Like, how many teams have ever been in this situation where like
playoff game this weekend and then talking about a coach?
Yeah, because even when you remember when we kind of all knew Gruden was going to be the next coach of the Raiders, but they were also 6-10 in 2017, so they weren't in it the last week. Oddly enough, that was a Charger game at the end of the year. I remember that right after the Charger game, Jack. I remember that one. He got fired, and that was so odd to me that right now it's wild. Like, for one, you got the Rooney Rule situation. Like, has Mark Davis talked to a non-white coaching candidate? Like, yeah, we don't know. So is he going to break the Rooney Rule twice? Like, this is wild.
Right. I hope he doesn't. Like, I don't want to have that.
Oh God, I know. Yeah, Tashawn Reed calling putting a Klan memberhood on in his new athletic piece on
and I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think he just wants his guys, and everybody does. They choose their guy. Everybody knows who they're hiring or who their top guy is 2 months before they interview. It doesn't matter who they interview. It doesn't matter if they're black, white, Mexican. Like, they're going to hire the guy they like.
Right.
But, the minority thing, they do deserve more interviews. They do deserve a chance. And I think like that is a problem, like with GMs as well. But I think like he's not going to go interview Todd Bowles and be like, okay, his interview was awesome, I'm going to choose him over Jim Harbaugh because his interview was awesome and I followed the Rooney Rule. Mm-hmm. He wants Harbaugh. He's going to go get Harbaugh.
I know, it's weird. And so good question in the comments here. The good question in the comment here says that because we were talking about Harbaugh wants control of things. Harbaugh wants control of this, control of that. Now, when he was in San Francisco, and maybe the Yorks weren't going to put up with that, and that was only his first NFL head coach job, he did still have an offensive coordinator. It was Greg Roman, now with the Ravens. So I do think Jim Harbaugh still respects having other minds other than his own. I think Gruden was very much a tyrant in that. He thought he was like the Julius Caesar of the Raiders, where he had just advisors, but not necessarily anybody was allowed to pull the lever like he was, pull the switch. And I do think I don't know if I agree with you on the GM. I think we'd still have to bring in a GM, or maybe even Mayock stays with Harbaugh. So I don't know.
I want full control, but I think it's like a thing with like, I think he'll bring in an offense coordinator. Mm-hmm. It might be, somebody from Michigan that he brings in that's kind of like a puppet,
Marcus Johnson said Pep Hamilton would
something like that, where it's like he's still calling the plays, but he's got a guy in there that is going to like give him some creative ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Pep Hamilton and Vic Fangio would be a home run. That'd be a great coaching staff.
Sign me up. It literally, like, that's my favorite thing. Would be my favorite thing about Harbaugh is that, I mean, we don't know this. We don't know if Fangio's the guy he wants. He could bring somebody from Michigan, which their defense is raw as fuck in college too. So I'm not mad about that. But like, it doesn't have to be that. But I mean, you can't imagine that the Broncos are going to keep Fangio after 3 years of no winning and stuff. And although it would be funny if the Broncos just stole Harbaugh from us and fired Fangio.
Don't even talk. That'd be horrible.
No, it's not.
With like Art Shell. Just kidding.
I'm telling you, but yeah, you got anything else, man?
No, man, I'm good. I think I'm very nervous.
So, I'm nervous as hell, man.
Not all of it. I'm nervous about the coaching thing. I'm nervous about.
Is anybody else mad that the game's on Sunday night? I hate it. I want that game at like fucking 1 p.m., dude. I loved the 10 a.m. start last week. I mean, I like 1. I'm a 1 o'clock. 10
Wake up, football's on. It's the Raiders. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, especially when you win, because then you get the rest of the day. You're just like, we won. I don't care what happens. Like, but then, like, for me, the Sunday night game, because now on ESPN, that's all I'm fucking hearing about. And I'm a guy that does not like the Raiders getting media attention. A lot of people wish the media talk more about us. Every time they talk about us, we fucking lose, man. Every time they decide.
I agree. Or if they everybody's choosing the Raiders, but I saw the thing today. It had 8 people choose the Chargers, 3 people chose the Raiders. That's how I like it.
So. Yeah, a lot of people are. A lot of people like ESPN. I'm seeing I think it was Ryan Clark and Dominique Foxworth were like, dude, like I love the Raiders in this game. I don't think the Chargers defense can stop them. And I'm like, all right.
Have you watched our offense to pass?
Yeah. Probably not. They probably haven't. But yeah,
they look at the box score where it's 500 yards and 16 points.
So I think Henry Ruggs is still on the team. Like Stephen A. Smith when he said the Chargers had all those players that they didn't have. That was
Hunter Henry.
Yeah. Hunter Henry, who was had torn his ACL a month ago. Yeah, it was so funny.
Williams had been on the IR for 3 months.
That's kind of how they are. But yeah, all right. Well, that's good. This will be the last preview show of the regular season. Hopefully, we get a playoff preview show. Can't even say it because it's never happened. And hopefully we get that. Hopefully when we're rolling into Buffalo or KC, just fucking ready to dominate those two scrubs.
Just ready to just get beat by 40.
No, hey, I'll tell you this right now. I think they could take down Buffalo. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I am not a Buffalo fan. I don't think Buffalo's good.
Dude, as bad as it would be to play a game in the snow, I think it would actually benefit the Raiders against a team like that. They could just run with Jacobs and throw little short passes to Waller the whole game.
Yeah, and Josh Allen's weird. Josh Allen, you could get a Josh Allen meltdown. He can melt down in games. It can happen. Is all I'm saying. So yeah, nonetheless, they draw a tough matchup either way. I don't care. Getting to the playoffs feels like winning a Super Bowl to me. I don't care. I would just be very happy that they made the playoffs. And then if they were to make an upgrade coaching hire on top of that, I would be on cloud 9. So,
well, we'll talk when you're on cloud 9, buddy.
All right, man. Have a good one. Follow him on Twitter at Fattest Mountain. He's the number 1 Raider insider. So yeah, number 1 on this podcast. And I'm at Glen Rockney. You know where to find me. All right, guys. Have a good weekend.